All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to begin with the General Sessions Court budget presentation. We have Judge Mike Mondelli, the presiding General Session Court Judge, and Mr. Warner Hassel, the Court Administrator. Judge Mondelli, thank you, and Mr. Hassel, thank you for being here to make the presentation. First, I need to ask if you were satisfied with the budget as presented by the Mayor.
Co-Chairman, I think the simple answer to that question is we are not totally satisfied with that. It is a budget that we can live with, but we are prepared to ask this council to restore some money to us so that we can fully meet the obligations that our budget demands. In preparation for this hearing, I'd like to make a few comments about the General Sessions Court. As you may or may not know, there are 11 of us judges in the General Sessions Court. We do civil cases and criminal cases. And last year, we disposed of over 53,000 civil cases, 231,000 criminal cases, and over 87,000 state and local traffic ticket offenses. There are 11 of us, and in the back hallway there, in the back room, we have Judge Angie Dalton here today, and some of our support staff, Mr. Robert Green and Ms. Gina Fox. With 11 judges, we are able to do, as I said, the traffic docket, the Middle Tennessee Mental Health Institute, emergency committal docket, criminal dockets, drug court dockets, and the mental health docket. The part of the budget that the administration has recommended that we are not satisfied with is a figure in the amount of $46,200. This represents the amount of money necessary to meet the charter mandated salary obligation to the judges. This amount of money, we are short this amount of money in our budget. We have options, Mr. Co-Chairman and members of the council. We have options that we can exercise to come up with this money. But in a meeting with the judges and some members of the council, we feel that the Davidson County citizens would be better served if this $46,200 was restored by councilmanic action as opposed to the options that we are left with in this budget. I will let Warner Hassel, our court administrator, explain some of those options.
There are several options, one of which would involve night court, of where we currently operate on a 3-shift basis. It's a 24-hour-a-day operation. So we would have to curtail one of the 3 shifts and shift that responsibility to the clerk's office, who statutorily could issue warrants and set a temporary bond till a judge reviewed the bond the next day. With the number of warrants, criminal warrants being up this past calendar year, that may not be advisable of shifting that responsibility, to the clerk's office. Another option would be the possibility of reducing or putting a cap on the enrollment of the online traffic school. Doing that, we would run out of funding for the online schools sometime in the third quarter of the next fiscal year. And that, of course, would impact revenue to a certain degree, close to between $400,000 to $500,000, which would not be advisable. We don't have any vacant positions available that we can reduce or eliminate to help come up with that funding at the present time. So that would be desirable if we did have that. Other than that, that's the only options that we know without, impacting existing personnel.
Are you all ready for questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Councilmember Tiger.
Thank you. Let's talk about the online traffic school first. I'm assuming that it's revenue neutral, or the fees that come in and the expenses, but the problem is you've projected X dollar of revenue and now we can't change it.
Well, the online traffic school, we have a contract, a metro contract with the National Safety Council, and if you buy in bulk, if you buy those personal ID numbers for the online school in bulk, it's somewhere around $10 per pin. But we charge the offender $85. So the government, has a net profit, so to speak, of $75 there for each participant.
So how is cutting the online registrations hurting us in any way?
We're not going to purchase $46,200 worth of pens because we need that money to pay salaries. So you're going to lose 4,620 pens at $10 a pop. At $80 a pop. That's your lost revenue figure.
Well, as a proud graduate of the online traffic school for a minor indiscretion.
There are others in this room that are proud graduates.
I'm sure there are. I would certainly hope that's not the case, because it was very convenient and easy, and although I love coming and visiting you all in person, that seemed to be a much better route to go insurance-wise and whatnot.
Well, that's why we are asking the council.
All right. I'm going to touch on a subject. You all know how I feel about judges elected in different divisions and serving in the seat that they were elected to serve in. So 4 or 5 years ago, this body reduced your budget by $25,000 relating to the environmental court, and you all found $25,000 to restore the employee there. What fund did that come out of?
Mr. Councilman Tiger, I was a third party to those conversations, and I think the administration gave us that money back. I don't think we found it.
Could the administration comment on that?
My memory's not that good. I'll have to check on it.
Because I assume you all had a budget, and they weren't going to, unless this body gave the administration the authority to shift money from one department to another, that had to be in your all's fund.
I think 4 or 5 years ago, our budget was a little healthier at that time and had a little bit more flexibility. And I think when we sat down with Mr. Ribling's staff, the judges had a priority to.
So here we are in a crunch time, and I'm saying there's $25,000 that at the point that court was originated, the judge who was elected to serve in that position sat in that position, and therefore there was no need to hire this part-time individual who's doing a great job, I understand, but keeping that position filled is more important than the 2,500 pins that would allow citizens to be online?
In terms of financial impact, we believe it would be, yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you. The General Assembly just recently left, and I just want to ask the general question. Do you anticipate anything that the General Assembly did that will impact adversely or positively your budget and your ability to operate and conduct your mission?
That's a broad question, Councilman. I'd have to say there's going to be some fallout from recent General Assembly activity up there, and usually it results in heavier dockets, heavier caseloads, more offenses, more defendants coming to court, and an increased amount of jurisdictional issues with regard to criminal cases and civil cases. Several years ago, the General Assembly increased our civil jurisdiction to $25,000, and we saw an increase in our civil caseload of about 10 to 15%. So I would imagine we'll expect some increase as a result of recently enacted laws, but how much is hard to say right now. Because most of those laws are not going to take effect till July. Now, I know that, like, for example, there are some provisions in the DUI law that now require a search warrant for blood tests, and that is a requirement that was not there before.
All right. I have no other council members in the queue. Wait, I'm sorry. Council Lady Johnson.
I am new to all of the different courts and what everybody does, so please bear with me with this question. On the environmental court side, as a council member, when we're working with the codes department and they respond to us and they say that this case is getting ready to go before the environmental court, and we have no way of kind of following up or seeing where the case is, I'll email codes back and say, well, what happened at the court date? Where is the court? What I want to ask is there a way to have some type of online calendar or something that council members can access where we can look to see if a case that's within our councilmanic district is listed on the docket for a codes violation?
And your concern is environmental court mostly.
Right.
This question is. Mr. Rooker's office has,
Mr. Rooker's office maintains that document.
Mr. Rooker, the clerk, maintains that docket. He has a mechanism for civil cases. And I would imagine it would just be a simple matter of getting with him and asking him to post that environmental docket in a similar fashion. Because you can go online, it's called CaseLink. And you can go online and get civil cases, find out the status of civil cases.
Because what we're challenged with as district council members is being able to be responsive to constituents that have been very vigilant and get to a point where they become impatient because, we'll give them a response that, well, code says this is going to be in environmental court on April so-and-so and so. And then when I follow up with codes and say, well, what happened on that court date? Then they say, well, the new court date is May something. And I don't know what happened. They can't give me an explanation. And I honestly want to go to one just so I can see what exactly happens and to provide the appropriate feedback to my constituents. So I'm just looking for an innovative way for you all to explore that. I don't know what the cost would be, and maybe this is a question that would be directed to Ricky Rooker when he comes up here. But I would love to have something that is online that council members can access that can help us to be more informed and responsive to our constituents when a codes violation gets to that process.
Well, I certainly understand your concern, and I think Mr. Rooker's office would be the person or the office that would accomplish that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, gentlemen, seeing no other council members in the queue, that concludes your departmental budget presentation. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.